This is your host, Stephen Brent Sargeant. This is an exciting topic for me. I've been battling back and forth about what I should say about this topic. What do I actually think about this topic? And I think, and if people have seen, I think Oonagh actually made some really good points in her post that she made on LinkedIn, Berg of Raw Compliance. I was actually going to respond in the post, but I always like to respond on my own platform. I don't like to go cast shade on other people's platforms or leave it in the comments. I actually agree with the majority of what she said, but I also think that the reasoning behind it and the reasoning of this post is I actually think ACAMS should keep their prices high. So Oonagh went in about ACAMS maybe should lower their prices. I believe they sold to a French organization for like 500 million. They're doing like $83 million revenue a year, which is decent, but they also have like 300 employees. So I'm not sure how much like profit that is after, but they're definitely eating and they've built a brand. But I want to disclose all relationships I've had with ACAMS in the past. I'm a super proponent of people that work there, like Lash. She's my girl. I think she is one of the best. I shouldn't say girl. That's probably a bad word to use. But she is definitely one of the best people within that organization, I think. And there's others, don't get me wrong, but I feel like I have the most professional relationship with her. I've called out ACAMS in the past because I felt like they didn't do enough externally to support some of the BIPOC and BAME professionals within their community during a time when I thought they could have had a bigger voice to speak on. But what I've come to realize is that it's not their job to speak. It's really my job to go out there and promote. And they have made up for it with some scholarship programs. I think, I shouldn't say made up for it, but they have done some programs to highlight BIPOC professionals. Let me jump into this right now. So the reality is, and the reason why I should think they should keep their prices the same is because it's just based on the premise. Like a community college in Canada can't say, Harvard should lower their prices and allow people to enter into a certain field. I think where Oonagh's coming from is that she feels there's a barrier, that $2,000 certificate and the continuous payment of the union dues is a barrier for someone to get into the industry when it really isn't. And the reason why I feel this way is that all the information is free, including probably the ACAMS study material. Let's face it, the study material is online in some form. Somebody that has it that would have probably shared it with you. There's no, I don't think that there's any secret to that. So the information is essentially free. But if you want those 4 letters, if you want CAMS, if you want your CAMS to show up on your profile, you have to pay for the exam. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Just like if you want to be a doctor or have a PhD and get all those letters in front of or behind your name, you have to go through the schooling. You have to pay for it. I don't feel that anyone is entitled to become an AML professional just because they feel like it, and that the industry leaders like ACAMS or ACFCS have to give away the information for free just because they've earned the right by spending a ton of money on advertising, promotion, and building a brand, as well as being recognized as an industry leader way before me or maybe Oonagh or anyone else even got into this industry. So we can't get into the industry now and say, well, you know what, now that I'm in the industry, they have to lower their prices. And I just don't really think that is necessary. The information is free. Go get it. If you want to have the information, there's no barrier to it. You can go get the information. But if you want to take an exam, pass that exam, which shows that you actually retained and able maybe just to regurgitate the information, have a foundational knowledge, you have to pay the money. And I don't really think there's anything wrong with that. And if they did lower the prices, like Raw Compliance, most likely TCAE or any other organization that I know would probably be out of business. Like, let's be real. If it was free, and the problem with it being free is that then people don't value the certificate. People don't value the information. And that's why I think when you lower your price or you have a $200 or $300 course, that's great. Your premise is that you're giving the same information that ACAMS is for a third or a fifth or a sixth or a tenth of the price. But do people value your certificate as much as they do in ACAMS? Will people study for it? Will people finish it? That's why you have to put on, there should be a price tag that you put on that people that are extra ambitious. I know when I got in the industry, I loved that there was ACAMS. It was expensive. I paid for it, but I also wanted to separate myself from others in the industry. I think it doesn't have to be a fair level when it comes to education. Some education is more expensive than others. If you don't want to get an ACAMS designation, by all means, get another certificate that is cheaper. But when you're looking for a job and they don't recognize the TCAE or the Raw Compliance certificate as being a foundation or the gold standard in the industry, you can't be mad at that and then request that ACAMS be removed from job applications. And I'm just using examples. I don't think there's any problems with what Raw or TCA or any other organization is doing. Where I think, and like kind of to the point of this whole podcast, is that they have to increase their value. So it's not that they have to lower their prices, but I think they have to do a better job of supporting their community and doing efforts like the free human trafficking course they came out with, like some of the other initiatives they've done, like the scholarship program they did for BIPOC professionals to take the FinTrail Kafka course. These are opportunities for you to do things for your community. I think they have to do 1,000 times more. I think they've lost touch with their community tenfold. And from what I hear around the industry is that inside the organization is a hot mess. I don't know that for a fact, but everyone is saying that. And it doesn't look good that you're charging these amounts of money and you're not valuing the people and the members that are paying into these organizations. And some other podcasts will talk about some of these initiatives that they could be doing to support their professionals. But I say this in almost every podcast. I say this for every company or organization. If you're not checking in on your members, if you haven't even sent an email to their members asking how they're doing, not a survey that you're doing with a large funded organization that you can promote to other people, just how are you doing? You're a member, you're paying your fees. We would love to know how you're doing and how we can support you. Not when your next weekly webinars are coming out. I understand that they have to make money, and I understand, but I think the future of these organizations is all about who is going to provide the most value to their community. And that goes for me, TCAE, Raw Compliance. Are you reaching out? Am I reaching out to my community and saying, how are you doing? Is there anything I can do to support you? Because if you're not doing that, complaining about another organization charging too much isn't going to change, isn't going to make your profits go up, isn't going to make more people run to your organization, because then you're just basing it on price. And the problem with basing things on price is I'll just get a whole bunch of recognized industry professionals, pay them money. I could be at a loss, charge my course for free, and essentially put you out of business. But that's just not going to happen because I haven't built up enough brand equity like the ACAMs have done. So this is where the huge thing is: can they add more value? And my belief is, if your organization that you're paying dues to doesn't add value, don't pay the fees. And let them know why you've chosen not to continue paying the fees. Don't just keep on paying $400 US to do what? Keep your CAMS designation up and running? What difference does that make? I have CAMS on. I can put CAMS on. Are they going to force me to take it off my LinkedIn? Of course not. Does it show whether it's expired or not? Who do you think's looking at that? Once they know that you've received your CAMS, it's a foundational knowledge. It's what have you done after that? What have you done before? How much work experience do you have? What kind of soft skills do you have? The CAMS is only one small part of the puzzle. So to say that without that designation, it's keeping you from entering the industry is, in my opinion, kind of ludicrous, a little bit of an exaggeration. I understand where people are coming from, but at the end of the day, why are you entitled to that? Like, I want to be a doctor. Should they give me free education to become a doctor because I'm maybe underrepresented or a minority? Of course not. I'd have to work to get there. I'd have to pay money to get there. To be quite honest, right now, AML is a fairly moderate to high paying job. The $2,000 is not really a barrier. And if it is, then there's other organizations, there's other designations, there's other jobs, careers that you could choose. You can't just knock on the door of AML and say, well, I want you to lower the prices so I can get into the industry. That's not the way it works. This seems like a very entitled society. And I don't buy this. I'm trying to save the industry by offering cheaper courses. I don't buy it. I think it's silly. But I understand that that might be the mission or purpose for organizations trying to provide cheaper options to their community. But I just think is that ACAMS also invests a lot of time to design an actual course. Just because you're throwing together 4 or 5 different presentations and you have headlines and you organize them in a way that looks like a course doesn't technically mean it flows like a course. Like the ACAM certification, the ACF certification actually flows together as a nice, fulsome certificate. Just because you patch a couple individual presentations that people do, and I know they're individual presentations because those people don't have their own training courses, so they're using this as a basis as their, I guess, like ad hoc training. ACAMS has like 5 people on their webinars setting it up, and to be quite honest, it's one of the most smoothest webinars organizations and operations I've been a part of, and they pay their speakers. So although, hey, it's not a fair deal, you're leveraging industry professionals, probably making money, paying them less than, like, why would people want to come speak for you when they can make more money from ACAMS, get more recognition? And although it costs more, that prestige level is still there. And one of the people that I actually teach the course, or used to teach an ACAMS course with, Faisal, commented about the community, about the network, about the exposure. It's huge. When I first got into the industry, ACAMS put me in positions and situations that I don't think any other industry player, maybe ACFCS, obviously, as I think they're what would be one of the 2-3 biggest organizations, could put you in. So that exposure is there, that receiving payment for speaking is there. If you're not offering it at the same length, then you can't complain about their structure. You can't complain about how much they charge. People have the option not to pay. But I do agree with Oonagh in a lot of the things. Like, what are you really getting? You're paying to become a member. You're paying to take an exam. You're paying annual CPTs to retain your qualification. My suggestion is just don't pay. If you've extracted enough of the information and you can utilize that information in interview to get you a job, why do you need to continuously pay? The benefit of you paying is for that exposure that ACAMS provides you, whether it's on job applications or other places. I think Oonagh also called out the lack of support in scholarships. I definitely agree with that. I think you make an 83 million, you can help support your community or maybe the underprivileged. But to be quite honest, people have to meet. We can't just expect organizations to be giving away stuff. You have to meet a certain level of ambition. This is where I struggle with, and I'm a BIPOC professional, and I agree there needs to be lanes, there needs to be pathways to power, but you also, as a BIPOC professional, as someone that's underprivileged or can't afford these courses, you need to meet them halfway in order to do that. And to be quite honest, simply ask. If right now, if I could not afford a course, I'd go to ACAMS and say, listen, I'm an industry professional. I really want to get into industry. Is there any way we can do a 24-month, 1-year program? Can I sign an agreement that you would take the course dues off my first pay? These are things, hey, like they might say no, but have you ever asked? I hate when people are like, oh, they should do this, they should do. Well, what have you done? Have you asked them? It sounds ridiculous, but I think it's worth speaking to somebody there and explain the situation, or maybe help create a program where people have an ability to afford these expensive certifications over the long haul. These are some things to think about. I really believe that ACAMS has a ton of work to do. I think personally, ACFCS has a moment right now where they've really been pushing during the pandemic to get out quality conferences for free with really great focus on cryptocurrency, fintech. They're adding in a little bit more creativity than your average bear. And I really think that still that community management isn't there. And I think their initiatives to help professionals within their community could be up just a little, just enough to get past or move the needle past organizations like ACAMS, especially when it comes to somebody buying them out. There's going to be a whole bunch of internal transitions. This is really a great time for ACFCS, even the Raw Compliances and the TCAEs to go all in on their community, not focus about any profits, and focus about their community, leveraging their community so that their community gets amazing jobs, so that you guys can talk about the actual results you get from your certificates and not so much about how much ACAMS is charging. Hope this helps everyone. Might not be a popular opinion. I'm not even disagreeing with a lot of the things that Oonagh says, but I think we all need to do a better job of picking and choosing where we spend our dollars. And we need to start asking for what we want. And maybe if enough people ask, more organizations will listen, but nobody's going to be handing things out. And to be quite honest, if you can't afford ACAMS, there's other ways around it. Study the material for free yourself. Go get your, even without a designation, and go into job applications, showing them that you have the expertise that can get them the job, even without your ACAMS designation. Hope that helps everyone.